Okay, hi guys. This is take two. The first video, my phone started dying, so hopefully it will be problem free this time. And yes, I am in my bedroom instead of downstairs because in this house it is hard to find a quiet place. So this is the only space I can find. I hope everybody's doing good. I sure miss you guys and I'm so looking forward to the day that we can meet in person again. I don't know how far off that is, but hopefully closer than it was. And I'm also in my pajamas. It's a winter jam shirt. Winter jam. This is how I quarantine. I'm not sure how you quarantine. Let me know if you're a pajama wearer or if you like wake up in the morning, get completely ready for the day, and that way, you feel somewhat normal. I am a pajama wearer, and I love it. Okay, so last week we talked about, we were in Matthew chapter 18, and we read verses 15 through 20, which is talking about when we have been offended by someone or have been sinned against. Someone has sinned against us. And Jesus gave us examples of how we should handle that, sort of a three-phase matter. And phase one was you just talk to them one-on-one, and you go to them in person with the intent of reconciling, with the intent of forgiveness, and try to work it out. And then phase two is that you bring a couple people with you, not because you want to gang up on them or anything, but because you want to bear witness, somebody there with you, and they provide maybe a different perspective, sort of like a mediator type of deal. Then the last is to take it to the church, and reconciliation, mercy, grace, forgiveness, those are the things we should be that should be our intention. And then we also talked about how Jesus' presence is needed because he's the one that showed us true mercy to begin with. So his guidance and his presence is what we should be seeking. And when they gather together, more than one, his presence will be there, he promises. So today we're going to kind of continue that. This is going to be more along the aspect of forgiving, and we're going to be reading Matthew 18, starting in verse 21 through verse 35. We actually studied this in Sunday school not too long ago, so you guys maybe remember that. So I'm going to read that to you now, and then we'll break it down. All right, so verse 21 says, "Then Peter came to him and said, 'Lord, how often shall my brother sin against me, and I forgive him? Up to 7 times?' 22 says, "Jesus said to him, 'I do not say to you up to 7 times, but up to 70 times 7. Therefore the kingdom of heaven is like a certain king who wanted to settle accounts with his servants. And when he had begun to settle his accounts, one was brought before him who owed him 10,000 talents. Verse 25. But as he was not able to pay, his master commanded that he be sold, with his wife and children and all that he had, and that payment be made.' Verse 26, the servant therefore fell down before him, saying, 'Master, have patience with me, and I will pay you all.' Then the master of the servant was moved with compassion, released him, and forgave his debt. But the servant went out and found one of his fellow servants who owed him 100 denarii, and he laid hands on him and took him by the throat, saying, 'Pay me what you owe.' So his fellow servant fell down at his feet and begged him, saying, 'Have patience with me, and I will pay you all.' And he would not, but went and threw him into prison till he should pay the debt. So when his fellow servants saw what had been done, they were very grieved, and came and told their master all that had been done. Then his master, after he had called him, said to him, 'You wicked servant, I forgave you that debt, because you begged me. Should you not also have had compassion on your fellow servant, just as I had pity on you?' And his master was angry and delivered him to the torturers until he should pay all that was due him. So my heavenly Father also will do to you if each of you from his heart does not forgive his brother his trespasses. Okay, so verses 21 and 22 is saying that basically Peter is saying, how about 7 times? Does that sound good? 7 times is about how much we should forgive them, or do you have a better suggestion? And Jesus responds to that with basically multiplying Peter's recommendation, or Peter's what he said, by how about 70 times 7? So no, 7 is not enough. And he's implying here that forgiveness is unlimited. There is no number that you can put on it. And then Jesus goes on, he's talking to his disciples now, and he goes into a parable here. Verse 23 through 27 is talking about a servant. And you have this master and you have this servant, right? This master has said, I want to settle all my accounts. And a servant comes before him that owes him 10,000 talents, which translates into about several $1 million. And the guy didn't have several $1 million to give him, right? So he's like, oh, please, I fall down before you, on verse 26 says, and he says, have patience with me, and I will pay you all. And the master of that servant, he was moved with compassion for him, and he released him, and he forgave his debt. So for a minute, I just want you guys to imagine that you are this servant. Maybe you have went on a shopping spree with a credit card, and you bought yourself a Tesla and a Ferrari, and you bought a couple of vacation homes. When we're done with this quarantine, we're really going to want to go some places, so we need some vehicles that look really awesome. We need a mountain house, maybe a mansion, a place by the beach. We want some things, and it's a lot of money, and we just start racking up millions of dollars on this credit card, and then the company comes to us and says, pay up. Not just a little bit, though. I want you to pay me. I want it all. And you're like, I don't have it. We might feel afraid. We might feel like we need to work it off, or desperate. We might have a desperate feeling. I think that that's probably the way that he was feeling here. He knew that he couldn't. There's no way that we can pay that back right away. The common person doesn't just have several $1 million laying around. Well, this master says that he's going to take it out on your family, or this credit card company says, that's fine. That's fine. We're going to capture you, and we're going to make your children and your grandchildren pay over the years and repay all this debt. So what you've done is going to trickle down, and it's just going to make things harder on the people that you love. And you're like, that's terrible. I don't want this stuff anymore. I'm just going to give it back. I don't want it. I don't know what to do. I can't pay you. And these are the only options I have. I beg you, please. Please just let me pay you back. I'll do what I can, even if it's $5 a month, right? And the company comes back and says, you know what? Don't worry about it. It's okay. You don't have to pay a penny. I'm going to let you go, let you off the hook. You can keep your Tesla. You get to keep your vacation homes, all the things that you got. Just keep it. It's fine. And we're like, huh? What? Like, in today's terms, that would never happen. They're not going to tell me I can just be forgiven for millions of dollars worth of debt. That is going to be my responsibility, right? Well, in this analogy, if you were that servant, or in this parable, so how do you feel about that? You're going to feel humbled, like grateful, relieved, excited. Those are the ways that we should feel when this forgiveness and this mercy and this is extended to us, right? We should feel that way. We should be full of the same compassion that was just shown to us. We should want to show that to others. We should be grateful that our family was spared. And I mean, it would be a big deal for us. So let's see how this servant responds. If we're reading verses 28 through 30, it says, but that servant went out and found one of his fellow servants who owed him 100 denarii, which translates into a few dollars here, like in U.S. times. If we're talking about millions of dollars for the master's debt, or the master was owed that then this is just a few dollars. And he found this servant of his that owed him 100 denarii, a few dollars, and he laid hands on him and took him by the throat, saying, "Pay me what you owe." So his fellow servant fell down at his feet, begged him, and said, "Have patience with me." Does that sound familiar? "I will pay you back." And he would not, but he threw him into prison so that he could pay the debt, until he pays the debt. So when his fellow servants, people saw that this happened, they went back and told the master. So here we have this servant that was relieved of such an enormous debt. A great burden was removed from him, and he turned right around, and not only did he not show mercy to someone who owed him much less, but he laid hands on him. He took him by the throat. That doesn't sound like somebody who is humbled or grateful or relieved or excited about what has been done to them, right? This servant was not merciful. And so they go back and they tell the master. He did not show compassion. He was not understanding. He was not grateful. So let's read verses 31 through 35. So when his fellow servants saw what he had done, they were grieved, and they told the master. And the master called him in and called him a wicked servant. "You wicked servant, I forgave everything for you, and you did not show compassion on your fellow servant." He was so mad that he threw him with the torturers until he could pay his debt. So he reinstated all of that was due to him. And Jesus says, "So my heavenly Father also will do to you." You have to forgive from your heart. Forgive your brothers and sisters of their trespasses. Jesus is calling us here to forgive. He calls us to love one another. He calls us to show mercy to one another. He calls us to have compassion on one another and to forgive from our heart. There's a big difference in saying, "Oh yeah, I forgive you, it's fine," and not really processing it and not really showing mercy, not showing that you understand where they have been, where they are. Something simple that somebody does against us, we can sometimes just blow it up and make it a really big deal because we are so focused on ourselves. And then that can cause a trickle-down effect of the opposite of forgiveness. You would have roots of bitterness and anger and resentment. And not only that, but you might actually tell other people things that make them not like this person as well, and then you're starting rumors, and you're digging yourself into a place that isn't a very pleasant place to be, and it's very far from what God would want from you. So do you struggle with forgiving? Are you patient with others the way that God is patient with you? Because in this parable, God is the master. This debt that is being forgiven is our sin. That's us. That's our thing. We've done. Okay? We cannot pay it back. We don't have that ability. But He forgives us fully, 100%. No conditions of that. Like, fully, I forgive you all of your debt. And we should be humbled. We should be grateful for that, merciful towards others. We should be relieved that God has made a way, that Jesus did what He did on the cross and in the grave, that He is alive today and has paid that for us. We should be excited about what that means and what our future is because of that, what our eternity will be. We should show mercy and forgiveness to others in the same way. Just like you would imagine that servant leaving this meeting saying, "Oh, he just forgave me millions of dollars. I'm so excited. I'm thankful. He's so compassionate." If you felt that way about your own forgiveness and your own salvation, would you not want to turn around and say, "Hey, look, this girl messed up, or this guy messed up. I get it. But I've been there. I understand. I've been in that situation. And I forgive them for that completely." Show mercy towards them. Show them love and point them to Christ in the way that we respond. So I just pray today that you will forgive somebody, that you will truly from your heart stop and forgive somebody today. Even if that person is yourself. We have to do that sometimes too. We might mess up and be mad at our own selves for it. And we actually have to forgive ourselves for things sometimes. Or if it's a brother or sister that has sinned against you, that you would show them mercy. And that wraps up this lesson. So we only have, I think, 2 more lessons in patience. And so I will look forward to continuing learning about the fruits of the Spirit with you. I love each one of you, and I pray for you a lot. If you have prayer requests, please make sure you send them to me. I have had a few respond and let me know, and they are on my personal prayer list. And so if you have something, anything small, or whatever it may be, that you want me to pray for, please let me know. I love you, and I'll see you all very soon. Bye.